We open with Chakotay interrupting a bit of the old in flagrante in an elevator. As they're hurriedly leaving, Paris expresses disappointment at missing it because Tom Paris is a creepy dick. Kez finds this charming for some reason, but then we already know she's got poor taste in men. As if to prove this, Neelix is a possessive dick again, though, to be fair, she calls him out on this. We're interrupted by Janeway, and the action transfers to the bridge. We found a magnetic wibbly somewhere to the left of us, and we're going to poke it, because science. On the way, Chakotay mentions that rampant elevator fucking might be a problem in the near future, and maybe they should set some sort of rule, or at least organise a rota. We arrive at the magnetic wibbly and discover it looks like someone spilt iron brew. On closer inspection, though, it seems to be made up of thousands of orange space sperm. In hydroponics, Kez is tending some plants. Oh, and she's eating bugs now, which seems to come as rather a shock to her. Up on the bridge, we're taking a closer poke at the magnetic jizz cloud. Apparently, each individual space sperm is really, really fast, and can feed on the particulate matter in a vacuum, which is nice for them, I guess. Meanwhile, Kez is living her best life, munching down on all the tasty treats. Good for you, Kez, you don't need that abusive shit. Which is, of course, his cue to turn up. With flowers. And, in his defense, he admits he was jealous. You're still a possessive arsehole, but at least you're honest about it. While they discuss this, Neelix discovers the food that Kez has squirreled away. He then says the mashed potato she was eating is awful, so now I don't care if he lives or dies, because nobody insults mashed potato, you ignorant fuck. Anywho, Neelix decides to call sickbay. This is after first missing his comm badge and hitting himself, which, I'll admit, is the first bit of slapstick from Ethan Phillips that I've actually found amusing. In fact, Jennifer Lien's acting here is excellent too. I don't know if her starting to munch on the flowers was scripted or improvised, but it looks spontaneous either way. Credit where credit's due, this exchange was fun. Back on the bridge, things with the magnetic jizz cloud are getting a bit weird. Worried that they're causing it, Janeway orders the ship to pull back. It's not working though, as it seems the love tadpoles are pulling them in. The magnetic jizz cloud is causing ship-wide problems, but B'Elanna thinks she might be able to rig a kind of magnetic fart that'll push the space sperm away from them. Down in sickbay, Kez is feeling a little off. It's not the bugs or the flowers, but the doc's having trouble figuring out what it is because Neelix is acting like a cock, so the doc throws him out. You love to see it. No longer able to get in the way of the doctor, he decides to do it on the bridge instead, and honestly, get a fucking lock for that door. Neelix goes on a rant about being thrown out of the sickbay by that uppity hologram who isn't even flesh and blood, and Jesus Christ, this is supposed to be the likeable, quirky character? Why not go replicate a sheet with some eye holes in it, you cunt? Thankfully, he's interrupted by the doctor, who says there's a problem. Kez has barricaded herself in his office with a force field. Before she did, he was able to get some scans done, and her body is going super weird, and something's growing on her back. After pleading to let her in, Janeway has a chat with Kez. It seems Kez knows what's going on. It's Ocampa puberty of a sort, and she says it's much too early. It seems the magnetic jizz cloud is accelerating her metabolism. Also, the Ocampa reproduce only once. If it's going to happen, it needs to happen now. Up on the bridge, we're still not able to get moving, but at least most of the ship's systems are stable now. Whilst B'Elanna's working on the magnetic cowcatcher, Janeway and Chakotay have a nice, relaxing beverage to the backdrop of tangerine spunk. They discuss Kez and, by association, children in general. If they're going to be out here for 75 years, they need to accept the fact that they'll become, by necessity, a generational ship. That is, a ship where the original crew are replaced by their offspring to continue the journey. They discuss the logistical needs of such an undertaking, such as childcare, but don't touch on the philosophical aspects of it. If the entire point of returning home is because they want to be back in a place that they know, what purpose would that serve for the generation who were born on the ship and know nothing else? Home, for them, will be not the destination, but the vehicle. It undermines the whole purpose of the endeavour, and it's a disappointment that we don't touch on this aspect, even if only to acknowledge its existence. But again, I digress. Kez and Neelix are discussing her situation. She's not sure whether she wants a child, but if she does, it's with Neelix. He says he's concerned about the potential health implications given the timing is abnormal for her species, and seems to dance around it. She's impatient with his prevaricating, then drops the bombshell that her gloopy yellow hands mean her body's getting ready, and oh, by the way, we'd be connected for 6 days, which frankly just sounds like bragging. Then Neelix legs it. In the mess hall, Neelix seems preoccupied. Given all the available people on the ship to talk to, he chooses to discuss children with the person who has the least patience for his bullshit. They discuss the relative pros and cons of being a parent, and, rather delightfully, Tuvok skewers him on his sexism for saying he'd treat a daughter differently to a son. Up on the bridge, we're ready to do the whole magnetic fart thing. It's working apparently, but some of the space sperm seem to be turning blue and attaching themselves to the ship. Even worse, a giant space sperm turns up and has a sniff. Is Voyager about to get fucked up in more ways than one? While the blue space sperm keep attaching themselves to the engines, giant space sperm squirts some plasma at them. B'Elanna thinks this is a hostile act and suggests nuking everything, which is out of character enough to be jarring, but it's overruled. Meanwhile, some of the blue space sperm are attaching themselves to the giant space sperm. It seems the plasma squirt has similarities to their engines, and did we just accidentally make a pass at a massive alien? In her quarters, Kez receives a visit from Neelix, who is now all about the baby thing, so he says. There's some prerequisites for the mating though, the first being her feet need massaging by a parent. In the absence of one, she says she'd like the doctor to do it. Neelix is again a bigoted ass about him, and Kez shuts him right down, then trots off to see the dog. He begins the massage, and now it's time for Kez to start having doubts. Back on the bridge, we're starting to wonder if that plasma squirt from the giant space sperm might have been posturing rather than flirting. Does it see us as a rival? The answer becomes more apparent after it rams Voyager. The solution to this, apparently, is to ram it back. After all, when wild animals fight, it's well known that they usually shake hands and walk away after the initial confrontation, and definitely don't carry on until one of them is really fucked up. Janeway wants to escalate things with some kabooms, but Chakotay thinks maybe going turbo kill isn't the peaceful answer. Instead, he suggests submission. To that end, they copy the behaviour of the blue space sperm, which we haven't actually established are submitting, but okay, and roll the ship whilst pooping out some blue. It works, and we scarper. In the mess hall, Kez and Neelix are talking. It seems she decided not to go through with having children. But it's fine, because the doc thinks that it was a false positive puberty brought on by the magnetic jizz cloud, and it might happen again later. No worries if you're disappointed about the lack of kids though, because that ensign who's been conspicuous this episode, she's just confirmed she's pregnant. End of episode.